I schism, the space for my fingers to drag out the other, hollow to hide a secret vent, hissing confessionals upkept break a space between my broken extremities. If you've come to tell me that I have woken ancient ghosts, I'm finally special, with dirt and bleeding, such a somber opening for this hole I have made. 1. Everything fits in a hole. Mimetic knowledge of the dark. A hole is a boring wound, slit gash, predator rent. Fear, fear, fear. So many more holes than this, an orifice per square inch and a burrow. Everything living is whole. Fear, to have reverential awe of, venerate, honor. An aperture to slip in and out is common. There are places all of me can be underneath and openings in the sky, trembling, enough absences for all the kinds of fears. A dismantled cause of this feeling, fearing for safety of danger, real or imagined. We all have enough options to absence. We can make a hole. We don't have to find them, dig up the raw flesh and own a new hole. There is only one rule. No thing disinterred that cannot be replaced. No hole dug that cannot be filled. I first begun the dig when asked, a calling. Some things were obvious, a string coiled in the dirt, that circumference drawing a hole shape. Whole, like a hollow place in a solid body, sometimes meaning dread and reverence, trepidation, a gash-gnashed crevice to visit. The contour of a hole is to be traced, this one a crack, this one a fissure. The acknowledgement of the item must be clear. There must be an empty, a broken space where the obsession begins. My neurotic absence in this body, a surface opening to form a hole. Something must leave, a pipe, a vase, a cup, pouring downward, outward. Sometimes a leak is not found for years, a flaw, a fault, a thought shortcoming. Often, to fix, to ruin. So holes are always made to ruin. There are words for what I don't want. A blink, a simper, shadow holes between the placing of clothes over a head, shadow holes between entering and exiting, shadow holes hidden behind each book on the shelf. You can experience this too. Stand under the sun, spread your arms. These absent spaces perceived and not touched, no rim. It might have been just a hole but for the fire, how it shifts, the light holes, a word for that, pyrophobia, a collected mess, lack of understanding, not always to burn becomes always burnt. We just wanted to see, we're always filling and opening our own mistakes. Holes and mistakes, you can fill them yourself. You can put important things or unimportant things inside. There are teapots, fingers, spoons, toes, napkins, fluids, candlesticks, hair. All of these can go in. There is rust sometimes, or wings. These things end up in holes sometimes before they are holes. How many holes can you fill over your head? Here, let me show you. Above us are holes. When someone is taller than you, their holes are higher than yours, and you look at them from down there. But a hole can be on the wall, too, where a nail once lived. A peak in the ribs, it can be looking out at you, and you can look back at it. A hole can accommodate even the most insincere meanings. I have dug myself into a hole. There are holes in my past I could dig into. There are ways to insult you, to jibe, jeer, or taunt. There are ways to avoid unpleasantness, recite definitions, count numbers, watch people, think harder, recount traumas. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, holes, holes, holes. They can be little like a cupped flower, a pitcher plant that its food thinks is such a kind hole, and they can be kind like a mouth that has such teeth. Yes, holes can be kind. Only unassuming in their desires can holes be cruel and forget that they can be filled. Our job is to remind our fist to grasp the edge, and all of these holes need some light. Not every hole wants a light. Some holes only work if there is none. A cave is a hole until you go inside and it is lit, and now it is a cave, a burrow, a lair, a den. They can be deep like a well, a thoroughbred hole, brick-fitted stone, a crop of borders to denote this, a hole, a danger, a falling space, a well, a welling, water gathers from the earth, a reflecting place to drown the reflection, a hole, drowning in itself. Holes can't be too deep to fathom. Eyes have watched them all. There is no safety for measurement. Too many for seeing. Cuts in the walls for wiring, for hiding, for slipping inside, for looking. A coffered ceiling, asking to be filled. Expectant holes, waiting for something fitting. Holes are obstinate. They do not have to be something missing. Sometimes they are the object. 2. The state of being away. A shadow can be used to garden, light slit, to give the one flower the light it needs without burning the rest. The holes in our eyes to eat this illumination. Consistent holes in the light burrow the in-betweens. Look to the alley, or the closet, or the empty hallway wrapped and enclosed. Their absent space is hungry for your entrance. Go in them. There are sorts of things that can live in these in-between spaces. Holes have a way of being lived in. You do. A dark hole could collect anything it wanted. A pen, a marble, a lace button. In some holes there are only bones and the dust of bones and the things that live in the dust. But they can be where the light gives. Somewhere I've been to be, there are shafts of light down here. Can you name these light hollows? That one like a rabbit, that like a dog. Holes have names like entrances. You can call them or conjure them or cross them. You can entitle them and decide them. There are ways. Draw a circle, color it in. Is this your shape? Holes don't think about holes that are filled, though they must be able, but they do think about filled holes. Maggots, tampons, jewelry. These are some of our favorites. They go in a hole that is cruel and remind it, leaving behind a space that was. But this is aside. It's our job to fill them, each a measurement to take. Hole making a hobby, a gift I have misused. Hole watching a prescience I have wasted. There have been holes to attics that have been covered all our lives where the worry lives. Places for the bodies, or a breeze, or a hurried rush from a basement where holes are common as darkness lives with the worst things. Common misconception that the worst live in the dark. There's a peace to sycophantic light-bearing. An argument in my cells, crisis always seeks remedy. What did you do? No. Ask where you should be. Is this your hole? Some holes must be gone to, some must be sewn, some stapled, but there are holes no one has gone to. Sometimes a hole is forgotten or is imaginary. People say or leave, there was a hole here, but now it's gone. People often have holes in them that are not born or caused at all. These holes are cruel because they forget to be filled. These holes are phantom holes, limbs or lies, prosthesis, the nearness to a disappearance, the shell people beside a loss. These are not the holes like we love, a barbed joy. I often worry that a hole will be too filled with spiders or darkness or regret. A hole cannot be so dark, I am certain it is endless, but it can be so dark I'm worried that it is. All darkness is a defect. I dug up some disturbing information. Everywhere we are, a hole. Holes haven't asked yet what we hope to accomplish, leaving me with them, and you listening. I'm feeling the rims of each hole, trying for crystal glass song, but we can spit and wet every hole and never listen well enough. 3. Archaic. I fear me the holes will always be watching. a commitment to non-existence. I see all the holes. They are everywhere. Grading, runoff, concrete and metal. I stop over holes in the road, holes in the dirt, holes to nourish so many doors. Whose nests are these? They are there when you start to look. The holes of the earth that trouble me, a colonizing affect. Are you learning? Language owes heritage to them, the holes they live in. I often wonder if I do. I close my eyes and see my body desiccate, holeless. I owe everything to the things I am afraid of. When patterns are determined, there is always a need for excision. Must I help the holes? If I deny them, what will be left when I look? A sheer light. What if I schism or absent? Can you describe a hole without its borders? I can make it out now, this hole I'm making. You can look at the edges to see whose shape it is. This contoured edifice. I was thinking we might just imagine them, but the dirt has a give and a take. No matter the motion of my hands, the constant dig of the hole asking, move me here, move me there. There are no more spaces now than there were, just a learned activity of quiet replacements, a shovel, looking for where there are such things as living and filling. How many hands can I fit into a hole if I dig it deep? How many feet must I dig to place an arm? How many for a foot or leg? And what would that do? I'm not hiding these bodies, I'm putting them away. But is there any reason to dig? Who am I asking? There is no right way when digging, no direction to be heading or way to go, just a pathological descent, a new desire to begin building down. Some of my best teachers have been holes or gaps. They can teach me patience or impermanence. These are simple holes, all of them simple. Some holes should not even be looked at from a great distance, no matter how far. Do you think light knows, or will it always look at things it shouldn't? There are holes that you should not smile at or even acknowledge. These holes might ask you to kindly turn away. These holes have only the answers that holes can give. My fingers found openings they ought not have. Trypophobic epilepsy demanding a poke, a prod, excavation. It's time to scoop, a schism. We have inside holes, holes inside holes, a heart, a hole with more holes winding deeper in our arms, our legs, our nail beds, mouth, an open hole the whole way through, new things to be afraid of. We can fill our own or ask for them to be filled, a market for plugs and rods, a kiss and earplugs. We can be filled with flesh or water or concrete, a sweet electric hum. Sometimes we imagine the rounding of the clay from our mouths, fill the body just enough to know it's full. I tunnel, burrow, mine, the holes in my body filling with dirt, which worry might be the right one. I grab the edge of a hole and pull and feel my holes move with a hole shape, an explanation without borders. I forget the body or limits are none. A dissociative space between our flesh separates our bodies. They could be closer than a hold, a rupture, a dig in the ribs, a stepping on toes, communal breathing. And Caesura, can we do without this space between? Communal breathing seen, a bad omen. There's a similar hole in our heads, a sort of venereal absence, a list of fears and desires which a hole understands. Fill it with whatever you see. I am a spoiled child needing to own things and name things I don't, mere a word for reflections in the dark. I, which I bring to the whole adventure in this echo, replace the din with what songs you can sing. To plow, to wreck, to till, plant the seeds, slip the clay in my skin, push my open mouth in the dark, look down my throat where caverns can be scrutinized. Wet fingers slip in each opening, exhume myself for the earth. These body holes are just the softest and easiest to collapse, sometimes the kindest embrace. when someone makes a hole between themselves for you. Even if these holes are not very perfect, nor do they always fit. Some holes are empty because they once had something growing inside. 1,000 empty egg sacs. What use are these holes that are empty that were only useful when filled? There are often memories of holes. Holes can be very memorable. 4. Too far, too deep. There are quiet echoes in the hole shape, a resonating silence to the holes I have dug. I can ask, "Are you the same?" And they respond. I am no more than always been, a singular shape, a noun like breath, a singular shape from the weltering. Do all holes sing together? What sort of song? I can't help but dig and wonder and dig a rhythm in tandems. What sort of possibilities are there for holes at all? What is a hole but an absence and the object? Am I digging a hole in the earth, or am I just spreading it around? Do you understand a hole now? If it's dug, would you know what to do with it? If I dug and dug, would you begin to fill? What if I told you there was no bottom to the hole? Would you find a way to fill it anyways? A hole must always be filled. It does not matter that it can be filled. It matters that it must. I cannot fill my shadow, my reflection. I cannot fill the depths of the oceans, but if I could dry them, I would walk to the bottoms of the trenches, and I would understand why the holes do this to me. Every shelter and absence. What kind do you cast? What kind of obsession can be like this? How many times can I dig or fissure my flesh? And what sort of alleviation does the dirt bring? What sort of hole is there in a hole shape? I am down this empty too long to still be dreaming. With every violence I absence. The holes are pulling up dirt, rock, concrete, water, husks of bugs and artifacts and hides and hair and skin and civilizations and histories. Stone, stone, and stone, pulling up everything and finding them beside them and above them, and it's raining mythology, and there's the dust and the broken nails and the blood and your fingers and your flesh and your sweat begotten fatigue. Excavation is costly, like revisionism is dangerous. The world is not your oyster. You are digging too far. Of the things that still remain aren't the things that matter. Sometimes it's the quiet that weighs like a splinter under the skin. An estrangement. You must start at the beginning, where the whole first lied to soft. I schismed and labeled the parts as 1. Everything fits in a hole. 2. The state of being away. 3. Archaic. I fear me the holes will always be watching. 4. Too far, too deep. When I told my story, which went like this, but ended like this. Holes, they are primal. There are no questions about holes in the dark. There and here when we dig, there can only be more. Don't worry about how to be afraid. Except it was just text on a page that read normally and with conventions. I'm as certain now that I will never be rid of holes, like a shattered light bulb that still works. A movement in the grass and the branches of the trees that emerge. Nothing. A parting of the waters for the air to crawl through. Have you ever held your breath in the night, edge of a hill, dangling sky? A secret that divorces, that is no secret but forgotten. Remember, to divorce the self is to schism. A hole is known. Close your eyes in the dark and imagine no ground, no firmament, no foundation, a baseless self. If you found the wound, you begin by pressing in louder. A strick-wicken womb shifted apart, a broken knuckle lost in its own flesh, sifting through tendon, muscle, skin. Peel the skin back into locks of dread to gesture an opening, a kind stranger, a sub-explosion under a quiet fabric that bubbles and threatens. But no such thing here. This blister grows under the skin and festered, but doesn't. Not a here and not here proposition, but a thought and a non-thought. To lay out the broken parts and delineate the center, draw a shape, and know it is empty. Always the horror, an absence to fill, quiet night of the dark room, filled of life, but now empty. You're back to the open space and a driving urge to wonder, the filling of an absence unknown. There are no more things we haven't imagined, and yet I fear we drew apart a wild and desperate blackness. How wide the mouth, full of clay, a gasping kindness of smooth slip, not to choke or drive a mass deeper. Fill the cheeks with fingers and listen. The ragged sound is the sound of your breath trying to breathe. A gagging white shape in the space of a room not lit, still lit, a powder on the ground and the rolling of us in it, a broken woods beyond and a high shadow who sculpts. Yes, I think we are the cave. Space opened by driving hands, spread the wheel and sink down. No fathom is too deep. To fathom is too deep to know. If it were, hungering hands and thoughts. Always resting a new hand on the shoulder of the one in front and pointing, laughing to ourselves. There next. There is only one period to wait. If we inked the stars out, one by one, a planet here, a galaxy there, what could we compare the vastness to? There would be no anchor for a self. There would be no self. Do you understand what I mean by a whole now? Do you think you could give me a portrait, or a song, or a poem? I cannot, and I have tried. I cannot, and I know I cannot. What I mean by a whole is being alone in a room, but there's something in the doorway. What I mean by a whole is the space in my skin between the blood and the flesh. I mean, it's a spot that we can see or visit if we think about there's a variegated calm and smothering. There is a method of unfolding that is prepared for hands. When you do so, it means twisting your fingers from interlocking like a puzzle knot. The prize is opening. If there is an opening, we must take it. It's where we go when there is nothing. Nowhere else. I tell them it's like being in a cave or lifting off into space when you are alone in the car and there's no one in the back seat. I tell them it's like being alone should be. When you hear a low note that carries in the walls, there is a way to absent yourself. Incise the piece that answers the question of which part of yourself is yourself. To be free, to truly be free, is an inadequate word. To be that way. Have you kept up the limbs of your tree? It's not watering that causes things to die, but not getting enough light. Always to garden like a slit of the sky. There's a space behind the air that we haven't opened yet. Always an opening to be seen. Have we? I can't learn what it can be yet. Have not. A calming, silent like a letter drawn out too long. A broken sky is the same thing as a torn piece. Is there something deeper inside of our bodies that can taste, or is there something we can find there to absence the knowing? Not yet. I think I found a quiet one. When the ocean meets the sky in a dark night, there is only sound, a hush like a giving in. If you fell into the water, could you possibly swim the right direction? Would you want to? Subversion is not enough to be clever. There is no artistry in finding. I'm not trying to be clever, to dumb my fingers into knowing. There is a system of roots that comes from the soil and rises, a tree. Wet dark branches as other trees, nutrients from the open. A tree, a kindness in the light, always kindness is the matter, but in the night it seems somehow limbs and branches become boughs and wicked crooks of elbows, and we mistake everything for living. When I speak silent, I mean something that could be loud but isn't. When I speak silent, I mean something that could be moving but isn't. We walk an open lot. No matter how empty of people, the cars seem very silent, and we notice. Does it mean anything if we can understand the primal worry? If we dumbly found words to describe a place there isn't? What does it mean to form a knowing? One thesis, is there a way to make an absence a space? There is a dragging that can be done, to take oneself into a hole. There is a sliding, a crawling that can seem more certain. Alone in the hole you dug in your yard, does it bother to hear a shuffle above, a scoop of dirt over the side? If I can paralyze myself with a fear so deep, can it be a something? You could know in flashing lights what it means to see something move that was background. You could know the edge of a boat at sea in the night, something always moving that you can cry but not ask. It's not a figure in a doorway darkened. It's seeing it beyond the window and knowing it will come in. Is that a hole? If it was, have I met it? There are always men outside my home who want in. There are estrangements to what is known, those moments where life is other and you think, now I must return. It is the space between there and here. If we were lost there, stayed in what we want away from, I think we would know what a hole was. A drain in the ground beneath where we live, like a place where life is not lived. There are corners to these holes that gape like mouths. If you could touch the rim with your finger, would it know pleasure, or would it just be a hole in the ground? If my fingers slide into skin like clay, I sink into the skull. I taste the skin again, glide slip over the cracks, guide hands into the sides. If my fingers could slide into your brain, would we even need this? I've known it like neon in the dark, no more a truth than it is a place to hide. I've been in a hole before. It's not like something we can learn or suffer from. It's not like us. It's the space between here and there and here, like knowing the strings between us. There are no mantras that understand the whole. If we cannot touch it, we cannot describe it. Tell me what air looks like. I'll wait. I can press my hands together and keep them touching while opening a wide. There is an edge of flesh to this hole. Look at your fingers and the skin. The loss of focus in the opening is the wound I have been picking at for years, but our hands are already the wound. We cannot feel into the hole. If we could, though, hands reaching through hands to widen the wound. Feeling of tearing, upsettingly devout to this teaching, the light in a room that does not reach, the corner, a ceiling too high for the light that is just gone into the dark, and the mantra now remembered, take me to the dark, take me to the dark, take me to the dark, a fond memory but incomplete travels. There is no knowing this which I speak. I don't even know what it can mean. Is there purpose to the trying? Can the hopes only be that in trying, a quiet reader can, for a brief second, feel unlost? What would it mean for someone to enter the room behind you now? Shudder a split, think there is not a way to break this, breaking like a platter always beginning to crack and seen from new angle is seemingly mended. To understand, you must sit in the dark with a soft glow and listen to the thrum of quiet calling. There is a lesson here that can be learned if you seek it. To call a god, you must be devout. To be, or at least feel, penniless. To whisper yourself to waking. There is an absence you can repeat. There is an absence to draw back the curtains on a window, overseeing nothing. In the glare of the room, the window appears dark, but when the lights die, you can see. This is not darkness or despair. This is a softly warm place. I think I failed you if by now you have not set this aside and walked into a room alone to feel alone. There is an under to all things that cannot be broken into words, for it cannot be spoken. It is not meant to entertain. It is not. It is not. It is not. Have you ever made your eyes tear up with complete terror because you learned you were not alone and could never be? Anytime we are not looking, we can be overtaken by another thing. There are faces in anything we want there to be, for we see ourselves. I think a mirror is a way to a whole, and if you stare enough, you can forget who is there. I have more answer now than ever before, and yet I feel you have not, because I have not. There is no place for schism, and if a key unlocked a lock, it was not attached to anything. We cannot know what is there, which is perhaps right, but there is still a shape in my doorway.